But ladies and gentlemen, we have with us none other than Arjun Vaidya, the co-founder, V3 Ventures. Let's have the loudest round of applause. Please help me welcome Arjun on stage. And I have a quick request. Hi, Arjun. Well, before we get to hear from you, I want to have a quick tete-a-tete with you. Would that be okay? Super. So you can take the podium. Now, here's what I realize. You know, we have Arjun with us, but I do have some pressing questions I'm going to quickly ask you.
Okay, I'm nervous, but let's get going.
All right. So, pickle and pitch. You know, that's something I've also been following you ever since I've been following your page as well. So, tell me something. So many startups, some of my friends also came to the pickleball court to pitch to you. Yeah. Could you share one of your favorite pitches? One.
Wow,
Pick one
there's
idea.
been like 50 of them. I think the two most fun ones were, I got my friend who I invested in, Nikunj, to pitch his business, Super You. And at least on video, we said that if I lose, I'll fund his business. I'd already funded his business, but we did that. And then we had my other friend, Parul Gulati, from Niche Hair pitch. And she was really bad at pickleball, but that video got a lot of views. So yeah, those are fun pitches. I think the idea behind it was, why should there be such a sort of gap of power between an investor and a founder? Why should it be in a boardroom or a conference room? Why can't it just be fun, right? And you learn so much about people through the way they play sport and what they do with sports. So I thought I'll change the narrative.
And that was a very innovative idea. But my next question coming to you, let's focus on your morning routine. Is it a founder chaos or disciplined yogi?
It's sports, actually. Every morning, other than this morning, it's some sport: pickleball, paddle, running. My friend Pooja's in the audience. She inspired me to do my first high rocks. I've done 4 high rocks now in India. So yeah, some sport and time with my daughters.
Oh, lovely. And one last question coming your way, because we know that you are in the world of heritage right now, right?
Yeah.
So, but if that's something that we learn from heritage is habits. So one habit that has changed your life.
Consistency. I think I realized very early on in life that I'm not the Yuvraj Singh types. I don't have so much talent, but I can tell you that I'll show up every single day and be the most hardworking person in the room, and that's my mode. So yeah, that's a habit I have.
And we love that. Let's have a huge round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, Arjun Vaidya. Over to you then.
Sorry, I'll just check if this works. Okay, so my name's Arjun Vaidya. Thank you so much for having me here. I will confess that I don't make so much effort for presentations and keynote sessions, but Monica and Mayur have made me make a PowerPoint presentation after a very, very long time. So I hope it's worth the effort, but it shows how much work and sort of enthusiasm they put into the curation of this event. So yeah, I made a PowerPoint after a few years. So this time I'm not winging it. I actually know what I'm saying. Look, I want to start with a confession. I was very confused why they called me here, because I'm not a CMO, I'm not an out-and-out marketer. You have more qualified people like Pooja in the room to tell you about that. But I think we're at an interesting crossroads now, where for the first time ever in my lifetime, we are seeing insurgent brands, new age brands, and D2C brands really give the legacy players a run for their money. Of course, there is lots for us, with all humility, as D2C brands to learn from legacy brands in terms of distribution, legacy, brand creation, customer love. But I think for the first time, customers are saying, hey, I'm not going to buy my parents' brand. If you look at what I'm wearing head to toe today, I grew up in India where I would go for a summer holiday and pick up clothes and shop and have that excitement. I go for a summer holiday every year outside of India, and I end up buying no clothes, because why do I need to, right? So my jacket is XYXX, my white t-shirt is Senses, my pants are Pan Project, my shoes are Gully Lab, My socks are Crep Dog Crew, and my underwear is an Indian brand, but I'm not going to go into oversharing, right? And I think that's really the change that we're all seeing in front of us in all aspects of our life. So every year, I make 10 predictions for what the next financial year will hold for this new age brand ecosystem, which is relevant for all of us here, right? Whether we are building a new age brand, marketing a new age brand, marketing a legacy brand, the playbook for consumer and engaging with the Indian consumer is very different, right? I wanted to maybe start with a story of why this is different and the world we are in, and then go into the predictions, and then maybe leave 5 minutes at the end for questions. I've been told I have 20 minutes, 15 to talk and 5 to answer, so we're going to stick to that. Look, I started my fund in 2021, 2022. I remember very early on, there was a smart founder from Harvard Business School who came to pitch his business to me. He was trying to sell shoes, and smart guy, great idea, wanted to build a good brand. And he said, dude, I'm going to sell shoes at 4,000 rupees. I thought he was an outstanding founder. And so I said, yeah, I'll invest. We can't take the bet from the fund because you've not started, but I'll put money behind you because I like you. But dude, don't sell shoes at 4,000 rupees because no one's going to buy an Indian brand for 4,000 rupees. Sell for 2,000, lots of people will buy. That brand is called Comet Sneakers. The brand sells, the founder didn't listen to a word I said, by the way. He smiled, kind of nodded his head, but pretty much forgot everything I said when he left that meeting. He never changed his price point. Comet sells thousands of pairs of sneakers every month. The business does more than 10 crores a month in sales now, and that average order value is 4,100 rupees without discount. That shows really where India is heading. We're in a world and a market where our consumers are now proud of our heritage. Indian brands are creating quality products. If you look at your Instagram feed, you're seeing aesthetic products, good-looking products that look like they could be on a global shelf as well. And that's the real change that the Indian customers are now saying, I want to buy these brands, right? So who I am and why I'm here, I'm here because Monica invited me, but I built a company called Dr. Vaidya's, took my family legacy of Ayurveda after my dada passed. We ran a clinic. I took that clinic, repackaged and rebranded to create India's largest Ayurveda brand online. We were one of the first D2C only brands, the first wave of D2C brands, launched in 2016. Got our website up to 5,000 orders a day, reached 2 million transacting customers in 5 years across 16,500 pin codes. I think that's the real power of D2C. One warehouse in Bombay reached 75 to 80% of India's pin codes. Eventually, I sold the business to a legacy conglomerate called the RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, and the brand still runs under their stewardship. 2021, I quit my business. I started investing a little bit, spending time with new age brands. And in 2022, I set up a VC fund called V3 Ventures. We invest in early stage consumer businesses, invested in 26 companies in the last few years, in the last maybe 3.5 years, deployed about 600 crores in India, and we'll continue to do that over the next few years, I hope, and reasonably successfully. I won't talk about my portfolio or the kind of companies I've invested in because that will come out through my predictions and my discussions with you as well. So what I've done is actually, we're in an exciting 12 to 18 months. We're in a time of flux. We're in a time where customers are choosing X over Y. The Gen Z consumers are saying, I'm not going to buy my parents' brands. The not your parents' brands is a big theme. And so what are my predictions or where I see this market go, right? So look, when QCOM started in India, I thought that it's a wave that is going to be funded by VC money. People are going to buy one bottle of Coke or one packet of Lay's and take advantage of these platforms. And eventually when they start charging a convenience fee or a delivery fee, all the consumers are going to go away. Just take maybe with a show of hands, how many of you guys shop on quick commerce at least once a week? 3 times a week? 5 times a week? Every single day? Yeah, that's interesting because this did not exist 3 years ago. I launched a hangover product in Dr. Vaidya's called Live It Up, my favorite product I ever launched. We didn't have quick commerce. The product wasn't successful because you couldn't get it on impulse. Today, that product would have been wildly successful because you start a night of having a good time, having a few drinks, and you realize you are going to have a hangover the next day. While you're having your first drink, you order this product, reaches your house, right? Uh, Quick commerce native brands is a theme. I'll give you two examples that have absolutely shocked me. One we got fortunate to invest in. The other we missed investing in, and we are the losers. So the company I'll talk about first is the good news. I met a founder called Kiran Shah. He was building a brand called Go Zero Ice Cream. He came from a ice cream legacy. Family built Apsara ice creams, and so he said, "I want to build a local zero sugar ice cream," and I think that's the trend and the theme that will go forward in India. He was doing about 20 lakhs a month when we invested 3 years ago in this business. Quick commerce has changed the fate of ice cream in India. You can think about the times that and I'm sure you guys have similar experience. When I was a kid and I wanted ice cream, and on a Sunday evening, and we'd call Baskin Robbins, and they'd say they had no delivery boys and it would take 3 hours for the ice cream to come. By that time, it was my bedtime. I never got the ice cream, and you left disappointed, right? Today, you can start a meal, forget to have ordered dessert, and get the ice cream delivered to you before the end of your meal in time for dessert. That has created an increase in consumption of ice cream massively. And then the change in Indian consumer behavior to say, hey, I want better labels, I want cleaner labels. You'll be shocked, and I can share this maybe confidentially in this room. Go Zero Ice Cream was doing 20 lakhs a month 3 Aprils ago. This month or last month, the business did 28 crores in sales, 90% of which came from quick commerce. That's 25 crores-ish of ice cream being sold on a quick commerce platform, right? So pretty amazing. The other business I want to talk about is Let's Try. Let's Try is a snacks business that has only one unique nuance. They give you the same bhujia and the same chakri and the same fafda, but instead of having palm oil, they have groundnut oil. It's a minor change which makes it 15-20% healthier. That business beats Bikaji and Bikano on quick commerce, and again does more than 20 crores a month on quick commerce. So quick commerce is now a serious channel, and it's an alternate channel, and it's eating share of Kirana and e-commerce marketplaces. So there will be brands in the next few years that will be built only for quick commerce, lower price points, impulse purchase, etc. Prediction number 2, the mid-market is getting squeezed, right? So either there are a lot of consumers who are buying the cheapest product in the market, the 10 rupee jeera soda, the 20 rupee bag of chips, which is the mass product. Or there are customers who are buying premium products. They're buying 4,000 rupee sneakers, 5,000 rupee sneakers. They're buying. I went to Phuket for the long weekend. I came back to Bombay on Sunday, and I was looking at the baggage carousel that was sort of dispensing all the bags. And do you remember a time when every bag that you saw there was black and brown and VIP and Samsonite? I didn't see any of those bags. I saw red, yellow, orange, green, Mokobara, Nasha Miles, Assembly, right? And so customers are either spending for the cheapest product in the market or an aesthetic expensive product. And so the 1,500 rupee Skybags backpack, which is not aesthetic but not the cheapest product in the market, that market is getting squeezed. Because customers saying, I'm going to pay and I'm going to spend, I might as well spend for something that creates status, aspiration, and a positive feeling. I think lots of people hoped and prayed for this. My family is in the luxury business, and we've been trying to see global numbers and compare it with what's happening in India. But for a very long time, Indian customers did not want to buy premium products. But at least in fashion today, and we do this thing in our VC fund called RPI, Retail Price Index, what X or what percentage of the cheapest product in the market will a customer be willing to pay for something better? In food, it's at about 25-30% increase. But the most interesting thing is what's happening in fashion and lifestyle. Customers are willing to pay 2 to 4 times for a better t-shirt, like a Senses t-shirt or a March t-shirt, for a better pair of pants, for a better pair of shoes, for a better pair of socks, for a better handbag. Mokobara's charging 4,000 to 5,000 rupees for backpacks. It's become pretty much stock or status quo that people are saying, okay, if I'm buying one backpack and I'm using it every day for work, I'm not going to carry my Lenovo laptop bag that came free with the laptop anymore. I'm going to carry something that looks good, right? So there is really an opportunity for premium products in India now. Uh, you'll see many more celebrity brands, but many more of them will die as well. And the reason is that, look, I think a lot of people were looking at the West and saying, when will India have its Kim Kardashian's brand or Paris Hilton's brand? And for a long time, they were extremely unsuccessful. And we've seen some successes now. We've seen Hyphen show a lot of success. They do 200 CR in sales. Pulmonas does 30, 40 crores a month. Super U is my portfolio company. It's a protein snacking company. In the first year, they've reached 200 crores in sales. So I think that's very impressive. And the distribution that a celebrity face gives on day zero is something invaluable for brands. But a D2C brand is a D2C brand is a D2C brand. And so if you don't have a good operator and you believe that just a celebrity face will generate sales with a poor website, poor operations, poor logistics, poor performance marketing strategy, and poor product, the customer will kill you. There is no hiding today. And so you'll see many more celebrity brands, but the ones that will succeed are the ones that have good operators behind it. And if you see Super U, Nikunj is a great operator, Pulmona's Pallavi is a great operator. If you see Hyphen, it's run by the M Caffeine team. They already built a large beauty personal care brand, right? So you will see celebrity brands, but the ones with the right operators will win. This is the one which is most controversial and which I got most hate on from my D2C founder ecosystem. Offline will be the most expensive lesson for D2C brands in FY26. When a brand reaches 100 crores, their investors go and tell them, open stores, go to GT, go to MT, because that's the next thing you should be doing, right? That's where the market is. 90% of retail in India is offline, go there. The beat of offline business and the way offline businesses are run is very different from the way online businesses are run. And so unless you reimagine it, create a separate team and run in a different way, brands will lose lots of money in returns, in payables that are not paid because the product is not moving, and in stores, exclusive brand outlets that they set up that don't perform, because if you don't know how to do this, it can be extremely expensive. And the people who are competing with you there are not just the D2C brands, not the legacy brands who've been doing it for a very long time. I think transparency is a massive moat. If you are a brand founder and you are lying to the customer, go on Reddit and see what the customers are saying about you. They're absolutely killing you. Right? You cannot lie on a label. You cannot make an overstated claim. If you do that, earlier you would see an ASCII notice maybe, you would see a few customers say things on comments, but now with the power of social media, you will see your brand getting slandered on Reddit, YouTube and Instagram, and that can be the single worst thing for any brand at all. And I've seen it with brands. I don't want to name the brands. It's not fair to do that. But brands get absolutely slandered if they make false claims or lie to consumers. And Indian consumers are reading labels. They're educated enough to read labels, to read what the raw material is that you're using in your product. They care about it now. I think this is a very interesting theme. Regional and specific to a region beats just a general pan-India brand, right? So I'll give you an example of two brands I've invested in. One's called Bihari Bowl, the other's called Mom's Made. These are two brands that are focused on a customer set that has traveled all over India, that is the migrant population in most of our big cities, but has none of their products they get from home available to them. So by investors in a business called Dil Foods, they launched a Bihari QSR that sells the delights that a consumer from Bihar who lives in Bangalore or Hyderabad or Chennai would remember from that home but is not getting. That company does 5 crores a month. It's the largest Bihari QSR in the country. Similarly, Mom's Made sells Thekwa and Nimki, which are snacks from Bihar, and is in its first year already doing 2 crores a month and is profitable. Sweet Karam Coffee is a great example of a South Indian snacks brand that understood what the consumer wants in terms of new age packaging, but still heritage and legacy. And that would do better than a brand that's saying, hey, I'm just selling snacks from all over India and I'm seeing where it goes, right? The connect with a regional consumer, the brand story you can build on, oh, this is my mom or this is my grandmom's recipe. Eat Better is another example of a Rajasthan-based business that just sells laddus and Bhujia and is doing exceptionally well, right? So that connect on hyper-regional is very powerful, especially with the power of content. I believe that we have finally reached a stage where my dream with Dr. Vaidya's was to take it to the world. I couldn't take it to the world because India was doing too well and I didn't spend enough time. But brand India is finally cool. Brands like IndieWild, brands like Vadam, brands like Skillmatics have proven that an Indian brand can go on global shores and succeed. And I think this year you'll see many, many more. The one insight that I've been hearing from D2C founders is if your product is not world class and chalta hai, mediocre, okay product may work in India, but in global markets, it's not acceptable, right? Prediction number 9, especially in beauty, wellness, and food, there's not going to be another Mama Earth created anymore, right? Mama Earth was created in its time when there was no new age insurgent beauty brand. Today, a beauty brand that talks to everyone about everything, doesn't have a hero SKU and is selling hundreds of SKUs may not generate interest in the consumer's mind because the tier 3 customer now knows what hyaluronic acid is and how much vitamin C goes into a vitamin C serum, right? And so we've made 6 bets in pre-seed, pre-launch beauty personal care companies. One is multifunctional, the other is anti-aging, the other is hair repair, the other is body care, there's one in sleep and recovery, and there's one in men's skincare. So niche, specific, works as the customer has evolved rather than just doing everything for everyone. Last prediction, subscription finally works in India. I sold Ayurvedic products. My products were 3 months, 6 months courses. I tried to create subscriptions, but because of the credit card regulations at the time, in 16, 17, 18, you couldn't do it. Finally, with UPI AutoPay, you can actually have a seamless or quasi-seamless subscription experience. Of course, there is security that's needed in India, and so it's not as seamless as you would subscribe to something in the US or the UK. But given the existence of UPI AutoPay, regime-based products, both in consumer brands and consumer technology, have been able to scale up massively. After the creation of UPI AutoPay, Kuku FM as a business where I'm an investor, it's a vernacular content platform, scaled 20 times in revenue because the consumer was able to subscribe and not have to refill their subscription every month. That refill or repay leads to very, very high drop-offs. And so if you're building a regime-based wellness business, you're building a supplements business, you're building a regime-based beauty personal care business, subscription finally existing in India will reduce the drop-offs, increase the lifetime value, and eventually increase the profitability of the businesses. I'm really, really excited about the future of consumer in India. I'll maybe leave with 3 thoughts, and then we can move to questions. I think specificity is important because the customer needs to connect. Trust is real, and trust can be lost very quickly if you lie to consumers. And I think being channel agnostic and on every channel is not relevant today because each channel has enough depth. If Go Zero was a channel agnostic brand, they wouldn't have won on quick commerce the way they did, and that's what's been able to give them the scale they have. Yeah, that's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening. I'm happy to take questions. I'm a few minutes ahead, but hopefully this presentation and the effort I put for Monica was value-adding today. Thank you. If we have some questions, maybe 1 or 2, I know we're running short on time. Go ahead,
Yes,
sir.
we'll just quickly pass the mic to you.
Arjun, it's always fantastic to hear from you. And I am going to take objection to the fact that when you came to our summit, you made no presentation. That aside, loved it. I didn't hear you. I kind of agree with pretty much everything you said. And I see it playing out. What I don't hear in your predictions is anything about is D2C doing anything for tier 2, tier 3 India? We only hear a lot of the top 20 million being served, the Californian Indians being served.
Yeah.
But value is in tier 2 and tier 3.
Yeah, look, I think it's an interesting thought. I built a brand for Bharat. I think the one mistake that as marketers a lot of us make is separate tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3 basis spend. The best example I like to give in relation to this is that BKC, where your office is and my office is, and Dharavi are in the same pin code in India, right? In Bombay. And so, really, I'm not that 10 million or 20 million is not top 5 cities, top 10 cities consumers. They are spread into 50 cities, etc., all of that. Uh, I think there hasn't been enough brands being built for those consumers yet, but you will see it play out. And I think it may not happen this year because QCom is just about starting in those geographies. The consumers are consuming on e-commerce, but I think the real push will be when quick commerce has a real presence in 50 cities. Today, quick commerce is present in 100 cities, etc. But like if you go to Jodhpur, for example, and you try to order on QCom, it's a 30, 35, 40-minute delivery depending on where you are because they don't have that concentration of dark stores. Once that happens, I think more brands will be built relevant for that audience as well. But I would not cut India into 1, 2, 3 basis income. I think you'll have tier 3 customers also who will consume like the Californian Indians as well. Okay, I think we have no further questions. So hopefully the session was easy to understand. I think maybe you have a question? Yeah, one more and then we can wrap.
So, once again, thank you for making the presentation and sharing it. Where do you think is the challenge of the 4% of online becoming 14%? You said retail or the GT business is still 94, 95% of total India consumption. The big change is going to happen, and building on the earlier question, is going to happen when we go from 4 5% to 15%,
Sure,
20%.
sure.
I'm not talking about 50%.
Yeah.
What's the gap there? Why is it not happening, even with the investments and all the D2C brands and everything else happening, and even the legacy brands making the distribution effort? Because distribution has been the key for driving business. Where do you think is the gap? And
it's a great question. Look, I think that that number is not, I mean, at least what I read is it's more like 7% now, 7, 8%. Still.
7 to 17, let's say.
Yeah, yeah. I think the US is at 30, China is at 50% now. I remember when I started my first job, I was working at a private equity fund. 2013 to 16, I was investing in e-commerce businesses, and we were at like 1, 2% at that time. And I would keep like saying, hey, India will get to 30% and 50%. And I think we have our own beat in terms of consumption, in terms of the way things move. I think we've done quite well. Maybe 7, 8 times growth in a decade is good for India. I think 2 things will drive it further. Look, cash on delivery is a massive problem for D2C brands, right? Like the Meta guys will know this as well. Basically, you don't know whether the customer will accept the order, then you don't know your efficiency of marketing, and you learn your efficiency of marketing 2 weeks later. Today I'm spending the money, I'm seeing a ROAS 2 weeks later when I get the products back, then I realize what's the efficiency of marketing. That number coming down from like 95% of orders when I was building to about 65, 70% and coming down further with trust on digital payments with UPI as well as credit cards. That's been a massive change in India. I think the second change is that quick delivery has already started significantly hurting the Kirana ecosystem. I don't think it's a good thing for India. I think a lot of people will lose their livelihood and people who need this. But I think these 2 things, quick commerce plus digital payments and the adoption of digital payments across various aspects of our life will turn this number up. I think 17% is believable in 5 years. Totally believable.
Great. Thank you.
There's one more, I think. And Monica, you can stop me whenever you think it's the right time. Okay, sure.
Arjun, thanks. Great presentation. I am intrigued by the point that you made, built in India for the world. With the fact that there is the push for niche, newer segments, going deep, etc. What really is the big barrier for Indian insurgent brands to possibly take a global first stance? I think if you look at most of the Indian brands that are still operating in the global markets are cashing in largely on nostalgia or generational loyalty.
Yeah.
But now with better R&D, a totally different playbook, what could allow us to possibly cross borders faster?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Look, there's 2 types of Indian brands that go global. There's one type of Indian brands that will succeed in all market conditions. And that is indigenous Indian products. Means chai, Ayurveda, yoga, spices, Indian food, and Indian ethnic clothing. This will work regardless of any market cycle, right? Because, I mean, we are the best at it, or I hope we are the best at it. And I add Ayurveda to that as well, right? The other segment of a Skillmatics going creating a toy, for example, right? That segment, or a California design den creating home linen products and doing 80 million in sales. I was with the Amazon global selling team, and there's a number of some 8 billion of e-commerce exports from India, which they want to take up to 30 billion in the next decade, etc. So a lot of people selling carpets and Indian handicrafts and general handicrafts, but lack of brand. And so I think two changes will be needed. One is people have to have the guts to say, "Nahi, main mere brand mein becne ko tayar hu." I'm not going to sell at 10% the value and have some American dude mark it up. Like, I mean, Anthropology is a home store in the US. Most of the supply is Indian, but there's no Indian names there, right? So you have to have the guts to say, I'm going to spend the US CAC. It's going to be 4 times the customer acquisition cost of India, but I'm going to spend. That's one. Two, I think we have a problem of mediocrity in quality of products, which is, the good news is that it's changing in India as well. Indian customers are saying, chalta hai nahi chalega boss. It has to be good or I'm not going to buy it. That has to be elevated to an even further extent for our products to be able to compete in global markets with global competitors. See, in Ayurveda, you're not competing with anyone, right? Basically, Indian brands competing against each other, so it's okay. But when you're selling a toy, or you're selling a t-shirt, or you're selling a pair of pants, or a pair of shoes, you're competing, like, let's say, for example, Gully Labs. I was talking to the founder, he's saying, I'm selling 25% in the US. I said, who are you competing with? He said, I'm competing with Axel Arigato. That is some serious competition for you. And so your shoe has to be able to deliver in terms of fit, in terms of look and feel, and in terms of foot feel to be able to compete with that brand. So I think these two things we need to change, but we'll get there. Okay, I think that's all the time I have. Thank you so much, guys, for listening, and yeah, thank you for inviting me again. Yeah.
Thank you.